on YouTube in the same time. Here you go. So we are live on YouTube and recording on Zoom. So hello everyone. So I'm here with Mike from Oregon. Myself, I'm in Switzerland, and we will talk about cryptocurrency, or at least the currency, how we want to design it so that it supports the new paradigm shift, meaning moving towards, transitioning towards a more loving society and humanity. So I have a presentation that I've made a while ago. It's probably a bit more than a year ago, but it's still, it's still current in the sense that all the ideas behind are important when we consider cryptocurrency. And if we want to move away from capitalism or scarcity-based type of economical system or monetary system, there's a few points that we can propose to replace that. So Mike and all the other people that are listening online, feel free to join. The Zoom link is on the Facebook, and probably on the people that are from ASC-keys. They have the link on the messenger too. So let me pull up the slide. So I should switch to my screen, sharing my screen. There you go. Let me know if you see it properly.
Yes,
okay.
It's okay to me.
So that's the PowerPoint. I don't know if I can put, if I do full screen, is there a way? Full screen like that. Yeah, go even better. So the idea is to have a currency that is more in line with what we think in terms of vision, what we want to go towards, and moving away from the oil-based industry. That's how I call it. Is where we use scarce resources or all the industry, the oil industry. And it's more like supporting a renewable type of industry, and that's why I call it renewable money. And you will see in a sense that it will it's renewable in the sense that it's supports the fact that nature is abundant. The principle is instead of having centralized bank, the principle is having it totally distributed and even decentralized, so that everybody is managing his own funds. So it's like having a full bank in your pockets. So that's the idea behind, and we will be seeing details. So how do we go towards a sharing economy? There's one thing that we have to notice in current world is that all the businesses are more or less for profit. And what does that mean is that they rely on the margin that you make on manufacturing a product and selling it. So the margin, the problem is that with the technology nowadays going close to zero. So if you have a near zero margin product, then you have the whole system that collapses. And if it does not collapse, then you go from crisis to crisis, and that's what we observe. Nowadays in nowadays economy. So to be able to compete with that type of economical system, we also need to have a zero margin in terms of transaction cost. If you look at the success of the credit cards, it's successful because it costs about nothing for having a credit card transaction. And so, and also the speed of the transaction is very important. If you want to scale to everybody on the planet, you have to have this at least similar or not better than a credit card transaction, which is fast because they verify almost nothing. So meaning they grant the transaction, and then they have all the system to deal with the fraud and insurance and that type of thing. And that's why they can be fast. So if we do cryptocurrency, we have the advantage of leveraging from the network, from the internet for the high-speed possible transaction, but we need to be careful that we keep the timing, the latency very, very low. So one of the principles with a new currency would be, instead of moving in or promoting debt and having a system where you get enslaved because you owe somebody all the time, we do the opposite. Instead of having a debt, we do a credit. And so we grant, with this currency, we grant a free credit for every individual. And so once you have those basic key feature, then you can have, you will see in the following slide, you can enable totally different type of economical system. So let me give you the basic fundamental principle where it's rely, this system rely on. If you have questions, and don't hesitate, Mike. Are you still there? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because I just see my screen, so I don't see the video feedback. So I want to make sure that you're still there and then everything is streaming good. So the one of the principles is that to do commerce, we don't need money. So if you look at the historical way money appears, it has been something to facilitate the commerce, but it's not required. And it's a way also that the elite or the people that were owning the power at that time, so that was a way for them to have a better control of the whole commerce. But the fact that we exchange token or coins is not necessary for doing commerce. What is necessary is a track of what is the flow, what are the exchange. Meaning that if I buy, a bunch of hay for my farm, then I need to record that exchange so that I can give back to the person that was selling me the product. And so it's a recording of the flow that is necessary, not the exchange of token. A way of recording is an exchange of token, but it's not necessary. So the other thing that is important is that it needs to be, and it's like everything in nature, there needs to be an equilibrium. If you purchase something, then so that means you receive something. And in terms of economical system or commerce, it's an importation. You import some good, and that means at a later stage or even immediately, you have to export the equivalent in value. So that the system can return to the equilibrium, and it's also sustainable on the long run. So the important thing is that we don't need token, we don't need money, we need a record, and it has to go back to the equilibrium. So there is a system that a Swiss guy here developed. It's called Equilibria. That is a way of tracking keeping the books, basically. According to those principles. So if you, like I said, if you want to keep the flow of the goods, every time that you give something, it's an export, and it'll make the balance goes towards the exportation type of direction. What does that mean? Is that means that you need to have a future. So an export is like a future import from the community. If you give something to the community, that means later you will have an import from the community. And when you're on the receiving end, when you receive a good, the balance goes towards the importation side, and it's translated like a future exportation to the community. And so when you look at the monetary system, it's when you import that you have the creation of the money. You know, when the central bank is printing money, is that type of things that happen at that level on the importation of goods. So it's a IOU type of thing. Is I will need to give it back to later. So what we observe in capitalism is, or in the system that we know today is, is that when you buy and sell something, it's always a one-to-one relationship. Is you have a debitor and you have a creditor type of thing. You owe somebody some money, and the problem with that is that it creates some kind of dependency and link. So if you look at the old system, the barter type of system, if you owe somebody a given value, you might not be able to give it back because that's not your skills. Imagine you're a math teacher and you just bought some food, and the guy might not. The guy that sell you the foods might not be interested in receiving a lecture in mathematics, right? And so this one-to-one dependency is something that is blocking, or you owe something. It's kind of you feel trapped most of the time. And so how to remove that type of one-to-one dependency is that instead of having all transaction into a one-to-one, like almost all monetary system that is today, you do it from one to many. So when you give to the community. So that can be a gift to a given person, a given member of the community or the society. However, your track of the flow is not tied to that person. If you give something to one person, you have the promise of a return from the community, not from that person. So if you record transaction in that way, that every time that you give is you give, and I give you a credit from the community. Every time that you receive, you might receive from a given person, but what you have to give back is to the community. You don't have to give back at the exact same person. And that's totally break down the dependency, the IOU type of thing that might repress yourself from thriving or giving you all your talents. If you're a musician and you know only to give music, then you can give back to the community without worry. As long as you give, if the equivalent that you have taken from the community is fine. As long as you return to the equilibrium. So the main difference here is one-to-many rather than one-to-one type of transaction and karmic link, if you want, if we can call it this way. So I had also, in those basic principles, I had also two extra rules. The thing is to be able to be sustainable on the long run. In the equilibrium is important for sustainability, but it also is the sharing of all the common goods, the sharing of all what nature is capable of giving us. And so if you look at the current financial system, is that we don't have a real feedback between and consumption. We produce more and more and more and more and more, and that translates by the producer to want us to consume more and more and more. And so we go to a mode where we totally deplete nature from the resources. We consume energy, we consume minerals, we burn oil, and all those things. And the reason is that there is no feedback. If the extra production were to be distributed to the workforce, then you have an automatic feedback, and we won't produce too much because then we won't consume because it's redistributed. So we need a system where there is that feedback. So the rule is no wasteful production. The production needs to be tied to what nature is capable of providing in terms of resources.
Yes.
The second thing is that there is a sovereign right to exist for every living being on the planet. They are on this planet that is abundant, and they have a right to exist. They have a right to thrive. So how do we incorporate those two rules in an economical or commerce type of system? So there is one thing, like I said, the feedback on the excess production. So that's in modern economical terms, that can be the distribution of the dividends. If we guarantee that we distribute the dividends to the people, then we guarantee that the loop is closed and there will be reach a given equilibrium. So without going where we produce a maximum, things go cheap, labor, we go through all this, the crisis cycle, employment and non-employment type of thing that we see in our modern societies. So the sovereign right to exist can translate to a free credit, so that everybody has a free credit to be able to exist. What does that mean? Is that it provides for food, for shelters. So it's a little bit different with the base income, where a basic income is given, I mean, for free without anything asked. This is different, is that you don't have a basic income, but you have a free credit for invest in what you want and being able to be productive. And so that means to be able to be autonomous. So the things of the free credit is you cannot give totally uncontrolled free credit. It has to be sized to what nature is capable of providing.
Yeah.
So the question is, what is the capability of nature? And so we will see how we can measure that and being able to set a size on the free credit. The other thing is that if you have a free credit, it's totally a vote. It's that the people as a way of controlling their local economy, as a way of participating in local projects and that type of thing. Today, if I want to build, I don't know, a windmill, for instance, I have to go to the bank, and the bank will decide if they want to give me credit or not. So they make the decision. So that means they totally control what's going on locally and even in the world. So if you have a bank-based system as we know today, we control nothing in terms of how we invest in the project around. It's how we think it's important for the economy, for the community, and that type of thing. So if you have a credit, a free credit, you put the money where it's matter. And so that means you really can participate in something that makes the humanity advance. You can participate in projects that you totally believe in, and so that's your right of vote and participation. So how do we measure nature capability? There's where it is the apple tree example. Is how many apples nature is capable of producing. I mean, as a first guess, we might not know. But there is one thing, is that we are not invaded with apple. So it can produce only the amount of apples that nature, the animals, or the apples decay. So there is the intrinsic equilibrium in nature, is you cannot produce something a higher quantity, then you can consume it.
Okay.
And so let me close my window because there's a storm over here. Here you go. So, so if you so the number of apple an apple tree can produce is based on how it decays or how the worms or any other animals will eat it. So, for a monetary system, can we mimic that type of thing? Is yes. If we put a natural erosion on everything at a given rate, then it will, by construction, limit the production type of thing. So so we can do that by forcing a negative interest on let's say a monetary account. So if you want to do good accounting, then you will match what's coming in and what's coming out. So that's the good accounting practice, is you match the importation and the exportation. If you have a negative interest, what does that mean? Is that if you have some saving, it will disappear over time. It will decay. So it's like you left the apple alone, then it will get molded and it will disappear. If you size the interest about 1% per month, which is 11.6% per year, you can reach a good balance based on the what is required for living, for having your food and shelter covered. So what does that mean is that the fact that you have saved money that disappear, this decay will be used to finance all the credit. So basically, you get out of a system that is totally not debt-based, but it's a system where if you have a debt, this debt also will decay with a negative interest. So what does that mean is that this debt will be paid over the time. And this also goes, the funny is that when we do the math about the 11% type of negative interest, we figure it out that the debt will go to zero in about 50 years. I know that's very funny because it corresponds to the jubilee type of things in the biblical type of text. So we see those things where like all your debts are clear in 50 years. That's 50% in 6 years type of thing. And this just by using the diminishing of the saving. So all that is reduced on the saving side is financing the negative balance. And so if you have that type of thing, you, by construction, go to the equilibrium. Like if someone has a debt 50 years after, he has no debt. If someone has money that is sitting there and is not used, so that means it's not investing in current project, then it will disappear for sure. And that's also give you an incentive not to hoard money. So meaning that you know that it will decrease 11% per year by construction. And if you do know that, you will use it. It's money that you have to spend. And that's also a good point in a sense that myself and probably many others consider money as an energy that is you activate to do things. It's really like water. You know, if you store water in a sealed container, it will get spoiled. But if the water is running, and then you can make electricity, you can whatever. It's full of life, and money is the same. So if you hold money, then it's dead. If you make it circulate, then it's facilitate the commerce, the economy, and all those things. So placing this type of decay rate on saving will it's an incentive for people to spend the money. So what does that mean is to invest in the project they like. It's like the incentive to vote. If you don't vote at the current present time, then you miss opportunities. If you vote, then you can participate in your community. So that's the implementation of the ID. And so no hoarding, so you get away of all the greed type of thing. And so if you don't have that type of hoarding, then you also solve the corruption problem. Because a thief, even if you steal that money, if you keep it for yourself, doesn't invest back into the community, it was nothing.
Yeah.
On top of that, this system is not based on a token that you exchange. So it's only based on books that you keep. It's a bookkeeping type of thing. And so that means there is no, if you don't have a token, the value is not attached to the token. The value is attached to the owner of the account. And so basically what is the value is the living being that is keeping his book. And so you cannot steal that. So that's a good way of also making sure that you don't fall into the old system where you have to overprotect the currency. You have to try to make mechanism for cryptocurrency where you do double spending, you avoid double spending and all those things. And then if you guarantee that the sovereignty of the account that is attached to the one living person, then you have all those problems solved. It's similar problem to resolve. And you have the same thing where you have the Byzantine. I mean, if you're a computer science guy, you have the Byzantine problem the same way. But you don't have to solve at every transaction a double spending of a token. You don't have to. The things that you have to solve is more like the Sybil attack. You want to guarantee that only one sovereign account is opened by one living being. Yeah. And that can be addressed. It's more authentication, identification type of thing. There is ways of doing it. I mean, if you do it with a physical way, like government do passport type of thing, it's easy. If you want to do it fully online, it's a little bit tricky, but there is ways. So for sharing economy, like I say, is one to many. So it's also an incentive to give back not only to the person that you owe, but to the community. So it's a way of promoting your own talent. I don't know if you know all the system pay it forward type of thing, the Karma Kitchen and all those things. So it's about the same principle.
Okay, I mean, no, not really. I will say my own. This is not a question; it's more of a feeling. I mean, reading up on the two leading cryptocurrencies, which I do often, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Both of them have problems at the moment. Ethereum got hacked. You probably know that.
Yes.
Bitcoin is facing a fork. So I've never, again, this is a personal opinion, and it may not be helpful to your presentation, but I've never invested in cryptocurrency because I've never felt it was anything different,
Yes.
To standard.
Well, I mean, something for me. They are based on a scarcity. You have a given value that you mine.
Yes.
That costs energy. Energy is electricity you burn, is fossil fuel that you burn, so it's a scarce resources. So, and that's why, I mean, for me, every cryptocurrency that is based on a proof of work or similar, it belong to the old world. It belong to the old fossil industry. And so you have attempts for people to mine or to mint cryptocurrency on something else. But right now, all the implementation, Bitcoin, even keys, they are based on a proof of work.
Right.
But even assume that they are not, once they are generated, we're fine. And then I think that's what it is that in keys there is a fixed amount, a fixed volume, a monetary mass that has been mined for a given time, so it has a certain cost. That's fine. However, because it's a fixed monetary mass, then it's belong to a scarcity system. So, and then you have the grid type of behavior, and it's also the value rely on adoption. I mean, if everybody use the keys, then perfect. If nobody use the keys, then it has no value. I mean, it's good as a transition system, because we first there. I mean, there is the mindset of the people that use them, that is also moving towards, I mean, a better good. So that's important. As a transition also is good, because we move from an old system to something where we don't need money. And so as an intermediate type of financial system, it's good. The fact that it's also a fixed amount, that it's prevented from fluctuating and having the full swing of all the fiat currency that we have today, with devaluation, inflation, and speculation. So you cannot speculate on it. At least is good point. So the paid forward system is like I forgot exactly where it is, probably in California. But there is a restaurant where you go and you order your meal, and when you ask for the bill at the end, you receive a receipt with zero, and there is a little note. Say, it costs you zero. We're happy to offer you meal. However, if you're in the mood of paying for the next table, feel free to do it.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because a lot of VCs that were looking at that type of business model, they would say, will never work. But it did work fantastically. And so, because people, when they give, I mean, that makes them happy. And so the fact that they receive the zero notes, they are motivated for paying the next table. That's for sure. And they feel so great. And so it's a very successful thing. It's, I mean, you can do it in everyday life. You know, you add the tollway on the bridge, and then you just pay for the car behind.
Yeah.
And the people probably will pay for the car behind too. And instead of being, so with only very little, you make an avalanche of good energy.
Yes.
And so that's the incentive, is the fact that we have a link that you owe, you don't owe to an individual, you owe to the community, then you pay it back to the community. Or forward, if you're in a mood of you don't have to receive to be able to pay, you can give right away.
Right.
So free credits, so that's the difference, is that if you need to have a project and you want to invest, to get fund for a project, you can, instead of having the bank that print money, you can print your own money. And so what does that mean is that on your on your balance sheet, on your book, you just say, if I need $1,000, you add $1,000 on your book. You don't need more than that. Mm-hmm. And so what's interesting is that you can give you as much as credit as you want in terms of printing your own money, so to speak. However, is that there is the same thing, return to the equilibrium. If you only print money, the value of your own money will decrease. So you will have less buying power if you give yourself too much credit. So the way I don't know if I talk about it in the system. No, I didn't yet. the way you evaluate and you size the free credit is based on living expense. For instance, in Switzerland, it probably costs $2,000 to live for the rent and for the food. $2,000 a month. In other country, I guess if you go in a underdeveloped tropical area where there is abundance of fruits and nature, you might need only $500 a month, type of thing. So that's your local living cost, basically. And that's probably what you need for just surviving, existing, and existing at that place. So basically, is that everybody is following and keeping their own book, and you have to consider that every individual is like, instead of having dollars for everybody, every individuals, they have their own dollars. It's like I have the Michel dollars, you have the Mike dollars. If we can scale those currency to the local living expense, then we can put a value on it. I don't know in Oregon how much you need, but you can scale. So that means that if I'm selling you my car, I will sell my car, let's say 3,000 and Michel dollars, but you don't know how much a Michel dollars worth. It depends on how my bookkeeping, how much money I printed for myself, for my project, and all those things. However, what you know is that I'm living in an area that is valued 2,000 a month. You're living in an area, let's say it's cheaper in Oregon, is like 1,500 a month. Then you know that a 3,000 Michel's dollar worth, let's say 2,000 Mike dollars. So if I sell you my car on the application that will give you the price of my car, myself, I want to sell my car to 2,000 Michel dollars. On your side of your book, you will say, oh, Michel wants to sell his car for 2,000 Mike dollar. And then you accept or you don't accept the transaction, or you negotiate. But you negotiate always in your internal system, your internal banking, your own, like if you do transaction with your own currency. So you know the worth that you can generate, you know your value, you know values of things, you know value of expenses in your locality. And you just assess, is my car 2,000 Mike dollars worth or not?
Okay.
And then if you accept the transaction, then you record your 2,000 importation of goods from the community, and you will have to be productive and then provide an equivalent of 2,000 Mike dollars down the road. And myself, I will have, based on this transaction, I will have automatically on my book a 3,000 Michel's dollar.
Okay.
So that's important, is that there is no value attached to everybody's currency, in the sense that it's our lifestyle, is the way we want to live, the way if we want to have a lot of money, then we print it, but it will not devaluate, but it will worth less when you do negotiation with other people. Or people will not accept buying your stuff if to their eyes is too expensive. So it's all self-control, and based on the point that we saw before, with the decay of your saving and all those things, it's self-returning to equilibrium, and is paying for the debts of the people in the community. So this works well if you rely on that everybody is capable, especially initially when you launch that type of economical system, if everybody is capable of providing for their needs. So if you're autonomous in the sense that you give back to the community more than what you take, then it works. However, if you have you're always in a society, you have some people that can't. You know, you have the sick, you have the people that are less capable of providing for their needs. But that's where the whole community can take care. Is that with the extra production, we can redistribute to everybody, including to the people that need. So the free credit, even if you're not capable of being autonomous, I mean you receive more from the community than what you capable of reimbursing. The fact, so that means you accumulate a debt, but the fact that it's paid back naturally with the system. That's allow within a community to have a certain amount of people that cannot provide for their needs.
Okay. Michelle, I think I have one thing to say. You may know this, but David joined us while you were speaking.
Okay. Hello, David.
Hi, yes, sir.
Hi. So I don't know where you joined. So
I just joined like around 3 minutes ago.
So what I can.
I do understand.
Okay. What I can do? Let me go back to the video. Where is the Zoom? I get it. What I can do is I can have Mike give an overview of what we talked, if you don't mind.
Well, no, I don't mind. I mean, I should state my reason for being here. I mean, because I don't, I don't have a great confidence in the current cryptocurrency paradigm as it stands, because to me it's just another abstraction of the same mechanism that's caused most of the problems that we have, which is in speculating and investing on abstractions, which is what money is and what cryptocurrency is. So I talked to Michelle a little bit the other day on technology stuff, IPFS and blockchain, and he mentioned that he got this presentation, and we actually shared it using IPFS, or he shared it with me. Basically, from what you've said, Michelle, and I'm listening to it for the first time.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, what I say is I want to see how you perceived it, and also if you have questions that I can answer. So I mean, it's good you can talk a little bit brief, David. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you're proposing is not a cryptocurrency or passing of tokens. What you're proposing, it seems to me, is a very fair accounting system, which I'm guessing you're going to get to. How it's maintained. I'm following that because you mentioned books, or keeping a book and so on and so forth. So I'm calling it an accounting system because it's a point of relativity. But I'm guessing you're going to get to the point where how this could be maintained. So, what my take so far is it's not a cryptocurrency in the sense of what's going on at the moment. It's not something that can be speculated upon and create value. That's its own right. I mean, the one thing. Sorry, I'll finish the one point. Yes. It's relative to recent. So, like Ethereum's worth about $180 million. I think we'll call it that. That to me is nonsensical because we're equating something that shouldn't be equated to currency, and then what that does, it gets people, as they have done, and they've done it with Bitcoin and other things, they become fixated by making money from the currency, and that's not absolute arrant nonsense. That's my opinion.
Yeah, the difference what I was proposing, David, is that to avoid falling back into the greedy system, capitalistic type of stories, because if you look at the history, the money initially was made for a good purpose. But we deviate and then we add all these power control type of game that evolve over time, over centuries, to the system that we have today. And so, and I think that there is a lot of things that can be done to avoid the corruption, to avoid the greed that we can see today. And then first is that if you do a non-token based economical system, that means you don't place value on an object. That means you don't have the corruption, you won't steal that token, you don't, it can be physical of crypto is the same. You say there is no value on money, then you won't steal it. Or you don't try to take control of it. And so the idea is having a system that facilitates the commerce. So instead of tracking token that moves around for facilitating the commerce, we track balance, we track the exchange of goods, the flows. And so it still can be based on a cryptocurrency or on a blockchain, because what is a blockchain is like a notary book that is available for everybody. It's a ledger, right? And so by having a non-token based commerce system, then you avoid a lot of problems. You don't have to have the double spending thing. You do have to, because if you don't place the value on the token, you place the value on the people. So you have to authenticate people. And so you have the Sibyl attack problem rather than the double spending. Or you have the authentication problem. But the value is on the people. So the value is on the people that would keep their book and that will do the commerce and transaction. So that's the main idea behind. David, any comments?
Yeah, a little bit. Is that if you personally set your own value for something, how do you standardize that exchange? Because somebody might not agree with that value. So, for example, we say that this is worth 3,000 microcoin, and that person says it's not worth 3,000 microcoins. They're only worth like 2 microcoins.
Yeah, but this
people tend to inflate
agree.
their own currency or value, or because it's all subjective. It's like let's say my wife will say that this is worth 3,000 microcoin, example.
Yes.
But my sister will, that's not worth like 0.
I agree, but this problem is true for every currency. Everything you have a problem of pricing. So you can have control price. You can have a system that control price. That's fine. Or people agree on a given price, negotiate. The thing is that is important, and it's true also in the spiritual world. You know, when we do healing, you know, how much do we charge for a healing session? You know, and most of the time, it's like you have. How should I say? We have. Let me change my microphone because I have an echo. Most of the time, it's a self-worth, the value that you put to yourself. So if you believe that you work to the community worth a lot, you will ask a lot. However, if nobody will buy your services or will go for your healing session, then you will readjust your price. So it's something that follow all price, you know, evolution of things. Anything to say, David?
Yes, the reason why commerce can happen is we have a standardized measurement. That means like the person here agrees that this is the price that a person in Africa or
yes,
or other people would agree to that price, and it's easy to exchange. But if you have to negotiate each time you have to exchange something, it gets into a headache. I mean, it might take days. Actually, it's sort of like barter. What they're saying is like it's barter. Basically,
what do you think?
A barter product. For example, person A and the second person is a second barter product. fee. Basically, what you're putting is a barter system on the token. That's what you're doing, you know.
I don't think it's in barter in the sense that the barter you have a double the coincidence of the ones, right? Here you don't have. I mean, you can negotiate, but you can also go for the same standardized price. Because the transaction is made in standard value, which is living expense in the current location you are in. So it's normalized. The transaction, there is value behind, but the value is behind is based on your existing cost, basically.
Yeah, but there's still barter because actually you're putting that your service or something on token, then another person is putting something and you're exchanging that between each other. Isn't that like barter in a sense? Maybe,
but
yeah, maybe what do you think, Mike?
I mean, my own point, I haven't gotten yet to the, or Michelle, I haven't got to the point as to how this works from a technological standpoint. And I think that's a key element. Although obviously what you're talking about, David, is obviously a key point too. But I mean, I'm repeating myself here. My feeling is that the current forms of cryptocurrency, all the ones I've seen anyway, are not where it's at. You know, it's because, and that's why we've got people speculating on, you know, making fortunes on ICOs, speculating on currencies. I mean, you know, it's that's not where we've got to get to. That's my opinion. And if we don't get beyond that, then there'll be a lot of. We're in the sixth mass extinction. I mean, that's it. It's as simple as that. It's not about having breathing space. It's about we have to do something, and that's my motivation in being in all of this. It's not to make money or anything like that. I've never bought cryptocurrency because I don't like its ideals. And I just know we're facing these immutable, I'll use that word, you know, challenges, which they're not going away, you know, and I mean, that's my motivation. So I don't want to answer your question, Michelle. I'm looking for something that can get us into a different world where we're not relying on the ongoing consumption of the Earth's finite resources, because they're not going to be there. Simple as that.
As for example, what we're launching is a decentralized economic system on the blockchain that where wealth is generated by sharing from Mother Earth and sharing for each other. So it is a new system, although we have Earth Dollar and Earth Bank that is attached to it. But what we're launching is it's actually a whole new economic system that works on a blockchain. So that's just an example, not to take away anything from Michael's work or anything, but I think it's complementary to what he's doing.
But I see it that way too, and I've read a lot about what you're planning, David, and what you're able to do, and I know that you're trying to mitigate a conflict by you know what you're trying to do, and that's laudable. I mean, one of the problems we have is that we've all been. I mean, I'm 69 years old, and in my lifetime, I've been educated in a particular way, which makes what we've got seem normal. Well, in that same 69 years, we have caused more damage to the environment than all of the other human history put together. So what I've learned and the way I've lived certainly isn't right, you know. I know I'm being very sort of esoteric here, but that's my drive in all of this. I want to get to a place where my grandchildren have a future world that's worth living in. And it's not looking like that at the moment. So I'm listening to everything about those sorts of things, what you're doing and what Michelle's doing, and you know, everybody else.
Perhaps Michelle can continue with his presentation, then after we can understand a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can go back a little bit to the presentation, and let me go back to a few slides earlier. Here you go. So can I go back full screen again? Full screen. And I need to share it. Do you guys see it?
Yes.
So David, so for you quickly, so what I was saying is that we don't need the money, we don't need token for doing commerce. And what's really important is recording the flow of goods so that you have a way of returning to the equilibrium. If you buy something, that's like you import something in your system. And every import, you have to have an equivalent export. And so that's why keeping the book, say I receive 50 kilograms of fruit, then I need to give, imagine that I'm a teacher, I need to give that amount of lecture back to the community. And I will...
Like the left system, I guess, like the left system, left, LETS, based on, yours is based on exchange of products, right?
Exchange, well, it's monetized in the sense that there is a price in a currency based things. Is I buy $50 of food and I produce the equivalent of $50 of my own work. So the thing is that the difference between an existing monetary system is that instead of when you give some services to your community or to a person, it's like an exportation for your book. And what does that mean is that the balance goes to one direction. And that means it's a promise of a future import. When you receive something, you receive a services, you buy something, it's the balance goes the other way, and it's a promise of a future export. And that's where you have the currency creating thing. Every time that you import goods on your book, you create money. So in that sense, it's a fiat currency, the same way that the current banking system is. The only difference is that you want two extra principles on top of it. If you want to avoid extra production that is wasteful for nature, you want something that is tied to nature capability, so that you don't deplete resources, you don't kill the planet. And the other thing is you want to be totally sovereign in what how you fund things. Is your vote as a human living being on the planet, you want to put your money where you think it should go. And so the difference between the banking system is you're totally in charge of your own balance book. You're totally in charge of it's like you own your own bank. It's like decentralized to the extreme, is that there is no one central bank, there is no community-based bank, there is as many banks as living beings. And so the question is, how do you make sure that there is no wasteful production? Is you redistribute the dividend, so you redistribute the extra production in your community. And that's the feedback that we're missing in modern society. The other thing is that because you own your own bank, you can give yourself credit for any project you want. And the question is, how do you size your credit? And it's sized to the nature capability. And if we do the math in our system, it's like having a negative interest in all money on your account. So if you have a positive balance, it will decay and disappear. So you have an erosion of your saving that is systematic. The advantage of this erosion is that it's paying for the debts. So any debt is self-paid. After a jubilee of 50 years, all your debts are cancelled. And that's changed totally the dynamic in modern financial system. we are tied up with our work because we are in debt, we have to pay for mortgage and all those things. It's a debt system, it's a scarce type of system. Here, you can, if you own your own bank, you can print as much money as you want. It will just decay, and then you pay for the and pay for the people that need to exist. So it pays for your basic needs. So that's the idea behind. And because of that, we don't have the greed. We don't want to accumulate money because if it decayed at 11% a year, it's 1% a month roughly. If you don't spend it, that means if you don't use your voting power by investing in projects, then you lose your money. So you don't want to amass. You don't want to save it. You want.
Isn't that the same as inflation? When inflation in the U.S. dollar, when there's inflation, your buying power decreases. Then after when you go to buy a loaf of bread like now, and in 1 year it's going to cost more.
Yeah, I mean that's totally true. That means that if you
11% inflation.
Well, it's not inflation in the sense that your buying power will change.
Yeah, it doesn't change 11%. You just said the buying power will decrease 11% per year. So it's inflation.
It's not your buying power. It's that if you don't use your money, it will decrease.
Yeah, so that's the same thing. Let's say 1 year from now, inflation would be at example 11%. So you let's say if you spend it now, it's at the same buying power. But if you in 1 year from now, it will
Yes.
be 11%.
Okay. Yes. Yes. In that case, it's true.
Yeah. So it would be 11% like inflation. It's yes, a US dollar. I don't know the inflation rate like 4%. I think they decreased by 4% per year. So yours would decrease by 11%.
So
people will want to have spent quicker, what you're saying, right?
So the 11% is based on what nature is capable of providing for you to exist. So that's how we compute this 11%.
Actually, nature doesn't. I don't think nature is the natural laws of P. It's at 2.718%. It's not 11%. If nature was decreasing by 11% per year, we would have no foreign fishes in the ocean. If that's the case,
Well,
it is a very.
So that's the equivalent. Well, 11% is that if you. So the way it's computed. To exist, you need to have a given amount of money, right? And so, for instance, if in Oregon you need $1,500 a month to provide for your food and your shelter. So what does that mean is that nature will give you, nature or the community or the system will give you that for you to exist.
You're saying that nature is the nature of the society itself, and not like the nature of like the trees of the forest, right?
I agree, but we are part of nature. So in our modern society, agree. In our modern society, we need $1,500 a month. So that's a given value. So what does that mean? Is that you need, with your work, you need to provide and give back to your community that amount to be in equilibrium.
Your definition of nature is the society itself is part of nature. So your nature definition is within the society that you need 1,500.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a way of giving a number, putting a number on it, right? I mean, if you look at true nature, meaning you consume that amount of trees, that amount of food, that type of thing, but I ended up the same. You need a given amount for living and existing.
Yeah, let's say for nature itself, its growth rate is a natural law of each, which is 2.718% per year. That's how fast they grow very, very slowly. They don't, and if you actually consume more than that amount, actually it is the nature of not being replaceable quick enough,
So what you're saying that nature grow at a given rate.
Yeah, scientifically, it's a natural log of E. If you look it up, you type it in Wikipedia, you will know that all nature grows by this rate.
Agree on a short run, but if you go on a full scale, long term, it does not grow. It's equilibrium.
No. It does grow by a rate because it's consumed. Let's say it grows by a rate, but let's say it's consumed. Other creatures consumed it, and it grows. Let's say bacteria or trees grow by that rate, but other animals feed on that. Of course, they consume it, and it becomes an equilibrium. But each individual animal, trees, they grow at a certain rate, which is this constant rate, So, but let's say the equilibrium comes when we have the life cycle where the fish would consume the smaller fishes, and the smaller fish would consume the plankton, and so on. It's the life cycle itself, but the plankton itself would grow at a certain rate.
Agree, but overall, because of the food chain, it goes back to an equilibrium, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the rate I place is to return to the equilibrium, guaranteed. So it's not only the growth or the inflation of the production itself. It's also to make sure that we go back to an equilibrium, considering everything, the whole food chain.
But you can adjust it. Let's say you make a mistake, 11% is too much. You can go back and adjust it to 8% or 7%.
The problem that if you go lower than 11%, you go back to a system where it's worth saving money. And the problem also is you cannot finance your existing in the right to exist. So this 11% is to make sure that every single living being has what it needs. It's like in the overall production, you extract the base income that every human being needs.
Yeah, in Asia, we have the hyperinflation where the currency decreases by more than 20%, and people they try to spend the money as quickly as possible, and they had to need the wheelbarrows of currency to go buy your bread, Like example, in Vietnam, to buy a loaf of bread, it probably costs $1 million, You're crazy because of hyperinflation.
Yeah, but because they don't have they don't have credit for buying their bread. Here you will always have a credit for buying the bread and having a shelter.
They don't save the money right away, so they spend the money as quickly as possible. As it would be over the next week. So there's no actually savings of the money.
Yeah.
So that's what you propose, right?
I propose a fixed decay rate, yes. There is properly sized.
They won't saving any money, but they're both spending it as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mike, any comment?
I'm listening and learning because I think you both got more knowledge and understanding than I have of this yet. As you probably tell, I'm driven by emotional things, but that's what drives me to learn.
Yeah.
And if I think I can contribute, I obviously will.
Yes, I mean that's good. I mean, still your the way you piercing things are nice to hear about.
Go ahead, Michael. Explain more. What's your?
So
Sorry sorry about so many questions.
No, that's fine. I mean, so that's totally good. But I mean, we need to validate things. So the idea is like more that doing the bookkeeping things. The value can decay. That's one thing. So that's an incentive. There's two reasons: an incentive to not to hoard the money, and the second is to pay for the basic need. So like I said, it's like you in the whole monetary the monetary mass, it's like you take a portion of it that is required for sustaining the whole system, so providing for the needs of every members, and that needs to be auto-financed by the system. So rather than giving a base revenue to everyone, you make the any saving decay that's finance the credit to everyone, a credit to live for everyone. So I understand that 11% can be steep for our current mindset, but it's to make sure that you can ask any time for a credit to the amount of 1,500 a month if you're living in the area you are at.
You see, Michelle, in example, in Vietnam, what happened was there was hyperinflation, so it decreased every day the value of the money, and they want to spend it right away. But actually, they use some part of the money to buy gold to have a stable value to keep it. So if the gold is another type of currency that they could use. So if yours is decaying so much, wouldn't people try to switch to another currency or then use that for storage instead? Or
well, yeah, I agree. But why would you switch to another currency when you can print your own?
The reason why is that the example is that if it's decreasing by 11% per year, actually one day it's going to become a zero value.
No, I mean,
if worthless. So that's why in Vietnam they purchased the gold to storage, because then afterwards, sometimes when there's a rainy day that they have emergency, when people become sick or something, they won't.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, nothing prevents you from buying scarce resources to save your money. I mean, that's fine. Once you want to want to spend it back, you will have to sell it, right? You have to sell your gold.
Yeah. They resell the gold. They resell the gold or they use the gold in small quantities. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can save money in non-decaying things, but it's your choice of spending your money, right?
Because since there's many currencies out there, people will have a tendency to switch. If yours is decaying by a certain amount, but people want to store value, they would probably switch to another currency.
Agree, but you have pros and cons for every currency. I mean, mine decay because it gives you a free credit.
So there is, of course, use for what you're designing for your currency, but because people will not be satisfied 100% with just using yours for nothing else. Some people will switch, back and forth.
I mean, that's why we need to know how we interact with other currency and our system, right? Yes.
Go ahead.
So the system that I propose is it can be autonomous by itself. You can have make up a business like a startup, and then you have all your employee paid on that type of currency. That would work. The fact that the people want to switch to other, meaning having some kind of exchange, it's fall in the same rules of export and import. If you have a closed system every relation outside that system is part of an import and export.
Isn't it similar to sovereign keys in a way? What's the difference between sovereign keys and what you're studying up?
So we talk a little bit with Mike. The sovereign keys is based on a fixed monetary mass. So in that case, it's based on, again, on a scarce system. And that's what I try to avoid, is having something that is scarce, something that you want to keep. And that's why I'm not sure that people will go for gold, because if they go for gold, they go back to the old system. Where you have the value of gold that fluctuates, you want to save some gold, you have the corruption and that type of thing.
Yeah, you have the freedom of choice. Some people will.
Yes. Mike, you want to say something?
Well, it's just the same sort of thing again. I mean, I don't think we have any, we're talking like we've got some sort of choice as human beings and sadly animals too, but we have no choice. It's scientific science. Scientifically, it's obvious that we're heading for some really serious ecological problems, and that we're heading for. We're on the edge of financial chaos. I mean, there's all sorts of things. I mean, we talk gold. Russia and China are buying up lots of gold. And at the end of it, and this is very naive. We need three things to live, and more ideally. And the three things we need to live literally are air, water, and food. And the other two are nice to have is love and health. And none of those things relate directly to money. We can't eat money or gold or silver or diamonds or any of those things. And they're only useful while we can exchange them for something that gives us life.
Yes.
But those things are not going to be there on any meaningful scale the way we're going. And that's why I don't have an answer to that, except the one thing that did stick in my mind when I first started looking closely at blockchain is the expression, the internet of value, because we do all have value, and we do, it's worth something to somebody else. You made a good point, Michelle, about if somebody's a musician and someone else doesn't like music, then that musician doesn't have any value to that other person. But then you expanded on that by saying it's not one to one, it's one to many, it's one to a community. And the bottom line is we will be, I don't know when it is, nobody does, but we will be forced into making changes. My main thing, again, I'm repeating myself, is to be prepared for whatever changes may need to be made, and to contribute and to give things and so on. And but it may not be very financially laudable, or but at the bottom of it, I do a lot of research, and I'm not basing my thoughts on off the wall stuff. So yeah, sorry, I went on there again, but you probably get a bit feeling of where I'm coming from, and I'm open to listening to everything that is going to be viable, to use a mildly financial term, which I don't mean it financially. We just need to be ready, and my own feeling is that there's certainly a growing number of people who realise, like the people in the ASC and sovereign keys and so on, but we need to be practical too, my opinion, and I think there's those with, we can't just pretend that we're going to ascend to somewhere when there's no evidence that we will, for instance, and so I'm it's a little bit difficult for me to relate to that mindset. I can relate to what you're saying, Michelle, and I can relate to what you're doing, David, because it makes sense to me. There's a logic beneath it, which we still have to adhere to. I'm sorry, I went on a bit.
I think you're totally right. Is that there is, if we go towards a society where there is no money at all, My system is closer to that. If we start today, what we need for transitioning there, the sovereign keys or the earth dollars are closer to the existing system. And so the question is, how do we scale between all those two? How do we exchange if we use pluralities of currencies? Like I said, there is advantages one versus the other. I want to part away from the problem we see in current financial system. So scarcity, greed, corruption, that type of thing. And that's why I propose something that is probably further or more fetched for some people, if I can say so. But it's something that say, if we imagine a society without money, we will still keep books, we will still do commerce, we will still exchange. And so how will we do that?
So you see, this is David speaking. I think you cannot get to a point where there's a society with no money. I just explain why, because it needs a consensus of 7 billion people agreeing to have no money, including the corporations. Corporations, 51% of the corporations are larger than countries. So you're asking the corporations, the multinational corporations, to agree with no money society, and to convince them to do that. And governments and everything, you will never get there because you need 7 billion people. Even if two persons disagree and create a currency, we have broken the system, no money, and it won't work because once those two persons start exchanging of a currency, more people will join in more and more, and after go back to the same system. Unless you can convince corporations to agree with no money. If some of the persons from the Zeitgeist movement, the Venus Project, or resource-based economy, if they say, I have convinced Apple to agree to no money society, then after we can have a discussion. But they have not convinced any corporation. They have not set up the system that goes towards that for the last 100 years. There's been no cities, no towns, no governments, no corporations have agreed to that. So already 100 years has passed since Jacques Fresco proposed that, and will it take another 100 years? Or maybe I'll never get there, because how you can get 7 billion people to have agreed to no money,
Well, do you have to have 7 people agree, or do you have to have small groups that use no money a community that thrives? Because
the reason why it has to be the 7 billion people. Let's say you have a small community, you have to agree to exchange, right?
Yes.
Eventually, some of the husband, wife, grandparents, the children will be using money, and that will go into that system again of those people. So it is a sense that the people who actually propose no money is actually using other people's money. They're using their parents' money or children's money or mother's money or somebody or spouse's money to create that no money, because they are these people have a living no money. That's just money to support them.
Well, today we have to be part of both systems, that's for sure. But if you look at the collaborative, and there's a lot of co-ops, there is like the local currencies in cities where you detach from the normal money system, and you have it's like Amazon coupons, so you say that the company does not won't deviate from the money thing, but Amazon give gift cards, right? And it's a no money thing. For them, there is no money circulating when they
coupon is a currency. It is money. It's a form of money.
okay. Then, I mean, it's just a question of, do we have a financial system that is token based, so coupons, money, or whatever, or it's a non-token based thing?
Let's say I think you can run Michelle, you can run an experiment in a town, and you can prove your system working. Then we're going to support it, because unless there's a lot of costs from the Zeitgeist movement, the Venus Project, resource-based economy, none of them have gotten any good, the small city or commune or anything that is working. They are going around. Let's example like even the Ubuntu. They want a no money society, and he's asking for donations for travel money to travel around the world. People donate money to travel. I mean, this is like hypocrisy here. If you're promoting something, no money, you don't have anything working. It's only preaching.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Get something working, then, Michelle, and after we'll support you after that.
Yes.
Okay, right, Michael?
Good, and yeah, absolutely agree with you 100% because it doesn't make any sense. It's a bit like one thing that's even worse than that in some ways, which is people who are very strongly in favour of the environment and protecting the environment and the biosphere, and then they're flying around the world to present at different places. All those things have to go away. I mentioned this a couple of times on the chat rooms for ASC, and it's not a popular statement, I know, but we can't. It's beyond money a little bit. We can't pretend to be really concerned about Mother Nature and our biosphere, and then carry on doing things that are tremendously damaging. It's slightly different, but I totally agree with you, David. I mean, it's preaching. You're exactly right. It's preaching, and we don't need any more preaching. We need some reality and occurrences. And then you're talking of zeitgeist. Sorry.
Exactly. They unless they present some working ability or something working doing that, then how we cannot believe them because it's 100 years they've been talking about the same thing, and that's why when Michelle is to get a town to do this, Michelle
Yes.
will support you.
I'm working on that. I'm working on starting small because you have to be local before scaling. But I'm totally into implementing, making like a full startup where everybody is paid with that, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and also it's also hypocrisy. It's also if you're asking people for donations of money, U.S. dollars or euros, to do that is a hypocrisy.
No, I won't. The principle that I have in my system is that every individual needs to be autonomous. So that means that the difference between the current system where you have workers that produce and then the products are sold back to the consumer. The difference here that you have basic needs. So that means the community gives you some values that you have to produce. Every living being is the value. So you have to produce, you have to be capable of working and give services, play music and all whatever to earn, so to speak, if we talk in old economy terms, to earn your living and your existence. And so that means that if you're not autonomous, that's for sure you rely on others to give you something, to provide for you. And that's where, I mean, I've seen those. I mean, there's a lot of groups that they have great ideas, but they are still using their gasoline cars and whatever. And then you have to be consistent with your things.
Exactly. I mean, people are using their gasoline cars, traveling around the world, asking people for donations that just promote the no money society, which is like, for me, it doesn't make sense. If you're promoting and asking people for money all the time, it's like.
I never ask for money. I still promote a no money AA society, but. And I talked to you, Mike, in the past, is that imagine that you need $1,500 a month to provide for your needs. Imagine that you're capable only of producing $500 in that system. So what does that mean? That means you're not autonomous. What does that mean? It's your own responsibility to find the $1,000 left that's required for you to exist into a part-time job in the whole society. Because the main rule is that we are in an equilibrium system. So that means you have to be able to produce what you consume. Otherwise, if you're left like that in nature, that you cannot produce what you need, you die off.
Yeah, how about the children and older people?
So yeah, exactly. So that means it's not true for everyone, but that's why the human species got into groups, community, society, is that the amount of work that we put is capable of providing for the needs of the ones that are not capable of being autonomous. I mean, that's why we have the children, the old people, the sick, and all those things. That's because alone, I mean, if I put yourself in nature, I mean, are you capable of surviving? Some do, but some don't. However, if we get together, the chance of survival as a group is much higher. Why? Because we produce more. We can provide for our needs together. And that's why we get into society. And that's why all the extra production that the community is doing needs to be redistributed. It's the distribution of the dividends.
Makes sense.
Yes, but I see your point. And I fully agree that you will always have monetary system that will exist, because some people, they like those, and then they are okay with that.
I think the corporations, corporations themselves, is that they're not going to go away, corporations.
Well, if you based on the corporation as a for-profit corporation, however, that if you're in a system where you guarantee to have your needs provided by some kind of means, then you won't work for profit. And that's changed the dynamic. A non-profit organization that where they don't care about profit, they care about taking the needs of their people, and they might be okay with a no money type of system. Any comment on that?
I think there's my comment is that I think get your things operational will assist you, Michelle, and get something going. Then afterwards, it will prove that it functions. Because until it's practically operational, we kind of say it might not work. Like lead.
Exactly.
The lead is the time system where you have positive time and negative time, and it's like the system, but it's not operational anymore because there was not enough people participating. Was worldwide, died.
Yeah, you're right. There's a problem of adoption thing, is that some systems, they have their value if people use them. If it's not used, then it's no value. So that's why also I try to move away from token-based, so monetary-based things, is because like the keys today, the value of the keys is how much people use them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not the usage, the exchange. What can you exchange it for? In your
Yes.
life, that is the value. If it's not exchangeable to practical things like bread and water or something, it's kind of like the basics of life. It's unusable.
Yes. So I get your message. We have to do a real world experiment. And that's how, Mike, I count on you for helping me on all the software part, right? To be able to deploy it.
like I mentioned, you know, I have a good number of friends in software, and you know, I know that that blockchain, or maybe it's Ethereum, that one of them anyway uses two languages predominantly, which is Go,
yes,
and JavaScript.
Go and Java.
So yeah, so you know, I've certainly got a good number of contacts in the JavaScript world, but yeah, I mean. And I, you know, like I mentioned to you, I've set up. I've got some more to do with it, but I've set up IPFS here. So you know, I've just got more work, more learning to do, basically, which I'm doing slowly but surely.
That's wonderful.
And then go on, sorry, David.
Mike, would you offer your services to assist also the Earth Dollar, or?
Oh yeah, that's for sure too. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, Mike, just so you know, David, mine may go on.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, because I think this is important, and I've mentioned this to Dakota several times. My skill set is in technologies, in capacity planning and tuning and load determination and so on. And if any of these projects are successful, they're going to face that. So anything I can do, David, that's my most direct worthy of helping. You know, certainly I'm more than happy to help.
Do you understand the e-node for Ethereum, just curiosity, because we're stuck in our e-nodes?
Excuse me, obviously I don't know. Is there a problem with email in Ethereum?
No, e-node.
Oh, sorry, e-nodes. Yeah, I haven't got direct, you know, I'm not going to say I have because I haven't got direct experience in that. I mean, I do have a very deep knowledge base of things like networks and data storage and databases and so on. So, you know, but I'll look at that. I haven't had any direct experience of it. I mean, I've been watching Ethereum since they first emerged, you know, and of course they have that unfortunate incident. It's a different matter, but they had that unfortunate incident these last few days, which it's interesting because I think I said this earlier on in the conversation. Both Ethereum and Bitcoin are facing quite stiff challenges at the moment, which is interesting to see what happens.
We're setting up our fork of Ethereum, but we're running into trouble because the person who's helping us, he fell down and broke his leg, and he had surgery in the hospital, so was down for a few days. So I was wondering if there's anybody that can help us with the e-node, and we ran into trouble setting it up. It's not communicating with each other. The e-nodes is basically like think about like a DNS server that works with the Ethereum, you know, that coordinates all the servers together, that allows all the world servers to communicate with each other, you know.
Yeah.
Right. I'll look into that, David. I'll find anybody who, if I'm not worthy, you know, I won't waste your time. That's for certain. I'll see if I can find anybody who might be able to help. You know, so I'll if I can help, I'll. You know.
Yeah, that's good because also, Mike, if you want to run a credit system on our blockchain, it's possible also. You know. So we're set up to run. We're here as a modified clone of Ethereum.
Okay.
And we need to upgrade, scale it up to be able to handle very large volumes of transactions because we have signed with indigenous 6.5 million people for the blockchain and with the peace agreement between the two African countries, we could add another 100 million people there, which is actually it's like 20 times the Bitcoin system is handling right now. You know.
That's good.
That's a considerable number to say the least. And,
so that's a lot. So that's why we have to be able to scale up quickly.
Yes. Understood. Well, certainly I've got direct experience on those sorts of things, most definitely, and how to gauge what's what may be needed. But I will look at that specific e-node situation that you have, and I'll see if I can come up with anything that's useful for you on that, as I say.
So thank you so much.
Of course, you can always reach out, David. I mean, you probably, I'm a genuine person, whatever else I may be, and I have a great deep care for our ecosystems and biosphere and so on, and that's my main reason for being here.
So because through the Earth Jubilee, we want to announce the end of extreme poverty by November 11th.
Okay.
So our goal is to get that going, so it can lift 1.3 billion people out of poverty. We want to have the financial resources to do that. I know it's not like the same as the system that Michelle is proposing, because it's using and it's not like the old system, because our Earth dollar has a stable buying power. So if you buy bread at $1 Earth dollar now, 10 years, say $1 Earth dollar. So it's not the inflationary or deflationary type of currency. It's a stable buying power currency. So it also prevents hoarding, because, and also to spend quickly at the same time, because it's a stable buying power.
Yeah, sorry.
So the fact it's stable, that means you don't speculate on it, right?
Exactly. There's no speculation, because it doesn't go. We have an automated reserve that can go in and buy Earth dollar from the currency market, increase or decrease it automatically. So there is actually no people don't want to speculate on it, because it doesn't go up or down value very much. So it is stable. There's no speculation in the sense that there's no it's not worth it, because it stays at the same price buying power.
So if it stays at the same bar price, so does that mean that the overall monetary mass is constant also? In average?
No, the mass is actually, it increases and decreases in value. It's elastic, so it increases and decreases in value, the monetary mass. But the stable buying power is according to the price. Let's say the Earth dollar increases in value according to inflation. Let's say if the US dollar has inflation,
it follows.
It decreases in value. So the Earth dollar to buy a bread today, and 10 years when I buy a bread, it's the same. But the US dollar would probably cost more to buy a bread,
Yes. Okay.
So it's a stable buying power. It's linked to buying power of
Yeah, so the opinion that I had is that if you have a stable buying power, we have a given number of people on the planet, and that means you have a total need or amount of monetary mass that is required for making these people live, right?
Yes. Ours is sort of elastic. It's backed by assets. So it's actually, as long as we have more assets, we can actually print more money, and it stays, the buying power still stays the same, but it actually increases the volume of currency in the world as more people use it.
Yeah, it's scaled to the people that use it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great to hear too, David, about the lack of speculation, because that's, more of the same thing, in my opinion. More fiat, basically.
Yeah, so it does stop the speculation there.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to say, I just typed in the chat, in 5 minutes, it'll be 2 p.m. here. I'm going to have to leave the conference, but, I've learned a lot from it, most definitely. And, we'll all continue conversing one way or another.
I have to go through now.
Same thing for us. So.
All right.
So, well, that was nice talking to you. That's conclude probably our talk. We talk a little bit about the system I propose, a little bit of Earth dollar. Next topic is probably see how we can have those currency interoperate and exchange type of thing. Because that's also an interesting point is how do we link Earth dollar to keys to coins, to quality coins, and that type of thing. Okay.
It sounds good. I would like to see a working community using your system. We should actually fine tune it.
Yes. Working on it.
Yeah, so that'd be lovely to see. Even like a small, even like 20, 30 people to start, or
yes,
yes, definitely.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we're closing this session.